If you're over 65, there are four deeply held beliefs almost everyone carries into their later years without ever questioning them. Beliefs about health, relationships, independence, and purpose. They feel so natural, so familiar that many seniors treat them as universal truths, even when modern research shows they aren't. These beliefs shape how you speak with your family, how you make decisions, and how you guide the people who trust your experience the most. And because families often assume that wisdom automatically grows with age, these ideas can quietly influence the next generation without anyone noticing it. The challenge is that the world your family lives in is not the same world you grew up in. Health science has changed. Social structures have changed. Mental well-being is understood differently. And decisions that once made perfect sense may carry different consequences today. This doesn't diminish the value of lived experience. It elevates it. It means your insights become even more powerful when they are updated, examined, and intentionally passed on. What matters is not simply sharing what you've learned in life, but sharing it with clarity, accuracy, and relevance. Many older adults underestimate how much weight their words carry. A single sentence about health, money, or relationships can echo across an entire family for decades. A habit you once considered normal may no longer be healthy. A belief you once relied on may no longer support well-being in the same way. And younger family members rarely challenge these ideas directly because they want to show respect. That's why questioning these four areas, privately, honestly, thoughtfully, matters more now than ever. As the years advance, the human brain naturally becomes more efficient in relying on familiar patterns. This is a survival mechanism. It conserves energy and speeds up decision-making. But this efficiency also makes older adults more vulnerable to what researchers call cognitive anchoring. Once the mind accepts an idea as reliable, it becomes harder to update it unless you deliberately examine it. That's why certain long-held assumptions remain unchallenged long into later life. Even when new evidence suggests a different path, recognizing this process is not a weakness, it's a strength. It gives you the chance to actively choose which insights should guide your family and which ones deserve a second look. With age also comes a shift in social dynamics. Younger people often turn to older family members not for technical facts, but for interpretation. They want to understand what matters, what to prioritize, and what to avoid. This means the guidance you give carries emotional weight beyond the information itself. When you question your own assumptions with curiosity rather than certainty, you give your family something even more valuable, a model for how to navigate a rapidly changing world with humility, openness, and wisdom. The first belief many seniors pass on without examining is the idea that physical decline is inevitable and linear. Many families hear a version of this. That's just how it is after 65. Yet modern research paints a far more nuanced picture. Muscle loss, balance issues, and cognitive slowing are strongly influenced by habits rather than age alone. Studies consistently show that even in late adulthood, targeted strength training can rebuild muscle mass, light daily activity can improve cognitive speed, and hydration patterns can stabilize blood pressure fluctuations. When older adults reinforce the belief that decline cannot be slowed, younger family members internalize a sense of passivity. They see aging as a slide rather than a process they can influence. But when you question this belief and share what science now understands, that small, consistent habits matter at every age, you give your family a different blueprint for their own future. The second belief worth reevaluating is the idea that independence means doing everything alone. Many seniors grew up in a time when self-reliance was the highest virtue. Asking for help was often seen as burdening others, but modern psychology shows that emotional resilience is strengthened through interdependence, not isolation. Staying socially connected protects cognitive function, stabilizes mood, and reduces long-term morbidity risks. Younger family members today live in an environment where stress is chronic, expectations are high, and loneliness is increasingly common. When they hear a message that independence equals silence, they often feel compelled to struggle on their own. But when you share a different perspective, that healthy independence includes asking for support, setting boundaries, and staying connected, you give them permission to live more balanced, emotionally stable lives. The third belief that often goes unchallenged is the idea that emotional strength means controlling or hiding difficult feelings. For many in your generation, discussing anxiety, grief, or mental strain was neither common nor encouraged. Yet neuroscience now shows that suppressing emotions increases stress hormones, disrupts sleep, and reduces immune function. Younger generations face higher levels of psychological pressure than any generation before them. When they see older adults minimizing emotional discomfort or avoiding difficult conversations, they can interpret that as a sign that vulnerability is weakness. But when you question this belief and model open, grounded emotional expression, you give your family permission to handle their own challenges with more honesty and self-compassion. The fourth belief that deserves a deeper look is the assumption that purpose is something tied to productivity, to work, career, or external achievement. Many seniors grew up with the message that purpose was earned through output. But research into healthy aging shows that purpose is grounded less in activity and more in connection, meaning, and contribution. Purpose can be found in mentoring others, in sharing knowledge, in strengthening relationships, in guiding younger generations through complexity. When older adults continue to define purpose as something that must be justified through visible results, they unintentionally signal to their families that value decreases with age. When you challenge this belief and share a broader understanding of purpose, you help the next generation build a more resilient sense of self that extends across the entire lifespan. Each of these beliefs, about decline, independence, emotional strength, and purpose, has deep roots. They developed from personal experience, cultural norms, and the realities of earlier decades. But today's family dynamics, health science, and societal pressures are different. When you take the time to question these beliefs, you create space for conversations your family may never initiate themselves. You become not just a source of wisdom, but a source of perspective. Someone who adapts, reflects, and updates. Someone who shows that lifelong learning does not end at 65, but deepens. Reflecting on these beliefs is not about rejecting the past. It is about integrating experience with evidence. It is about choosing what still serves you and what will serve your family. When you examine these ideas and share them openly, you transform them from unspoken assumptions into intentional guidance. You give your children and grandchildren a map that combines the best of your lived experience with the best of what we now understand about health, resilience, and fulfillment. You may find that as you revisit these beliefs, your own daily life begins to shift. Perhaps you notice new energy when you challenge the idea of inevitable decline. Perhaps you feel more connected when you allow yourself to lean on others. Perhaps difficult emotions feel less heavy when they are acknowledged rather than contained. Perhaps purpose expands when it is no longer tied to output but to presence. These shifts can begin quietly, almost imperceptibly, yet they often create ripple effects across entire families. Your family looks to you for guidance, not because you have all the answers, but because you have lived through more than they have. When you show them that wisdom is not static, that it grows when examined, you give them one of the greatest gifts: the courage to question their own assumptions and choose their own path with clarity. Your voice carries weight, your insights shape futures, and the beliefs you choose to examine today can become the foundation for stronger, healthier, more connected generations tomorrow.